Luke Pollard has been the Labour MP for Plymouth, Sutton and Devonport since 2017, joins us now. We spoke just yesterday on the programme, Mr Pollard, under very different circumstances. Who could have thought just a few hours later this would unfold on your streets?
Absolutely. I mean, Keyham is normally a safe part of our city. It's a strong knit community where you know your neighbours and you look out for one another. And to hear the news that there is a shooting taking place in our community is awful. But to then hear from local residents and the police that has resulted in deaths, and we understand that 5 people have been killed and the shooter is now dead as well, is just utterly devastating. And we will sadly hear more grim news today, I think, when the police start issuing information about their sense of timeline of events, about what happened where and when, who the shooter was, but most importantly is who the victims are, and to understand what happened in the events yesterday. But this is a awful tragedy, probably the darkest day in Plymouth's history since the end of the Second World War in terms of the number of casualties all at the same time. It really is horrendous here.
Have you been given any insight by the police as to what happened?
So the police are still trying to piece together the timeline of events to get a full understanding of it, but we understand that from 6 o'clock last night the shooting began on Biddick Drive, which is a quiet residential cul-de-sac in Keyham area. The police have cordoned off quite a large area here, because we understand that it's not just in this particular street where activities took place, but I'm hoping that the police will be able to share more of that information later today when they make a statement to the media. There's lots of people in our community here who are looking for an explanation, looking for anything to try and explain how such horrific events can happen on our streets, and I'm hoping that the police will be able to come forward with a bit of that information later today.
You said, I think, last night that one of the victims was under the age of 10, and we're also hearing that one of the people dead is the gunman. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, so in the immediate aftermath, I spoke with an awful lot of local residents in the area who are very concerned about what was happening to try and get a sense of it. The police are still trying to piece together all the details about what's happened and what happened to the shooter beforehand. But we understand that the number of people died is 5 that were shot. We're trying to understand exactly what happened to the shooter at the end of this incident. But I'm expecting, I'm afraid, particularly grim news about one of the victims. And I think for a lot of people, the idea of a shooting is horrendous enough, but potentially the shooting involving children is something that is that's really bad.
Yeah, incomprehensible, isn't it? Talk to me about local residents there, because they are, they've got this police do not cross line around them, a quiet parts of your constituency. Could never have imagined that something like this would happen just after tea time last night. How are they coping, and what support can you give them?
I think the overwhelming emotion here is shock and then devastation as to the news. For lots of local residents that were immediately in the area, opening the door to see something horrendous happening literally in front of them in their community is especially painful, and it will take a lot for that community to be able to process and understand and heal together. I'm really glad that our local primary school at Ford Primary School and the local churches in the area have agreed to open. They'll be opening from 9 a.m. today to provide a space for the community to come together. And after the year that we've all had, we know the value of human contact, but just the space to be able to talk to one another, just to kind of talk through what has happened and why something like this and how something like this could have happened in our community, I think is especially valuable. But, I want to say a big thank you to our emergency services for being so speedy on the scene here. It wasn't just the police and the ambulance crews that sped to the scene. We had not only our local air ambulance, but air ambulances from across the entire southwest region and further afield as well, supporting the operation. So it really was an exceptional effort. But now we need to make sure that as a community we're pulling together, that we're looking after one another, that we are taking time to listen and to understand and then to heal. But I'm afraid that we're expecting the grim news to continue today as we understand how many people have been injured and who the victims are.
Do you have any idea when the police are likely to update us?
I'm hoping that there will be a statement from the police later this morning from the Chief Constable to give an update on where the police investigation is up to set out what they know has taken place. There's, in a community as tight-knit as this, there's clearly a lot of people being able to share their impressions, but I think what is important here is that we get the facts from the police as they understand them, and that if there are people who have information, to be able to share that with the police to help them piece together that entire timeline of events. And then we need to make sure that that everyone involved, be it the victims, those people who are injured, the families of the victims, or a wider community here, have the space to make sure that they can come together. And we've got victim support available all day here in Plymouth for those people that have been affected. But this is something that doesn't happen in our city. Plymouth is a wonderfully safe city. Normally it's known for things that aren't shootings, that aren't that high-level crime. And I think that shock of the events that take place will take time for our community to be able to process and to be able to heal. But we start that today. Keyham is certainly a community with a lot of heart, and my word, we need that today.